Hey guys, welcome back. So today we want to talk about PCCs, or pistol caliber carbines, or some people call them SMGs, but guns like this. Now this is an SBR, semi-automatic SBR. This is the APC-9 from B&T, one of my favorite PCCs out there. Matter of fact, the U.S. Army liked it so much they adopted the first submachine gun since World War II. So it's a really good firearm. But if you take a look at this, it's pretty indicative of most PCCs that are currently on the market. They're just downsized rifles, if you will, that chamber 9mm, so everything's shortened, but it's not the same size as a handgun. Now, yes, you can buy this as a handgun with an attachment on the back that you can put a brace on it, but it's still really big, much bigger than your average handgun. And that's why you want to use a brace on it. But like I said, this one is an SBR. So what is so cool about them? Well, 9mm, which this chambers, is affordable. It's readily available. There's tons of different options out there for 9mm. Subsonic, supersonic, affordable, hollow point, you name it. There's just so many companies making 9mm. So it's a great self-defense cartridge. And why a PCC? Well, because you can shoulder it like this SBR, which gives it stability, and you can easily engage targets well past conventional handgun distances for most average shooters. So that's the draw to it, right? But as I said, this really isn't the smallest option out there. We have some other stuff that's come to market recently that takes the PCC concept and shrinks it literally to handgun size. And that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. Let's start off by shooting the APC-9. I just love the way that thing shoots. But what am I talking about? Well, I have one on me right now. This little guy is a braced pistol. It's a Flux P365 chassis system. And this totally changes things. And that's what we're going to talk about. A lot of folks ask me, how can I get involved in the firearms business in that particular community? And one of the best ways to do that is to become a gunsmith. Every gunsmith I know is just overbooked with work. It's a very good living. And so if you would like to become a gunsmith, you need to go to a gunsmithing school or become an apprentice for an existing gunsmith. But Modern Gun School is an accredited college that also works with veterans in the GI Bill, where you can go and get a degree from accredited college in gunsmithing and then go out and start your own gunsmithing business, which I think is a really great option. Again, throughout my entire life, gunsmiths have always been able to earn a really good living, assuming they have a really strong work ethic. So please check out Modern Gun School. I do have a link in the video description below. The APC-9 is a traditionally sized firearm. If you think about it as compared to a Streebog or an Uzi or a mini Uzi or even a Colt 9mm or a PSA ARV9 or something like that. This is about the same size. Now, of course, this one's an SBR. Non-SBRs with a stock would need a 16-inch barrel or a pistol with a brace. But the point being is this represents a pretty conventional sized PCC. Obviously, the Flux Raider 365 is considerably smaller, but not just smaller, it's a lot lighter. This pistol and its chassis, the P365, weighs 1 pound 7 ounces. The APC-9, this thing weighs 5 pounds 6 ounces. So this is considerably smaller and lighter. And this cannot be carried in a holster effectively. I've never seen a holster available for them. This is something you sling. This, on the other hand, was drawn from a holster that Flux also sells for the Flux 365 or the Raider 365. So the fact that you can put this in a holster and carry it means that it's going to be something that you could use for self-defense. Now, you have different magazines. This is a 25-round magazine. And of course, this is going to be a little bit harder to conceal under a jacket, but you can use, and these are Magpul magazines, flush fit 17-round magazines. And now it's going to be more concealable. If you want, you can carry a spare magazine in the front versus on your belt, and that's going to make it a little less concealable, but still you can hide it under a winter coat. Now you can also open carry it and stuff like that. Now what's interesting is that the military has been looking specifically at the Flux Raider system. And I saw a post on social media not that long ago, I think it was SOCOM was looking at them. And they're just looking at them because they make the chassis for the P320 as well, which is a bigger handgun than the P365. But the P320 is basically the M17, M18 that the U.S. military uses. So it would make sense that simply by, and they're using stocks in the military, not braces, but let's pretend this is a stock for a moment, you could effectively extend the range of this handgun considerably for your average shooter simply by being able to stabilize it. And that's the draw to this, right? And really, outside of submachine guns, we're talking about semi-automatics here. You know, this and a submachine gun, because of its size and weight, would be far more controllable than that as a fully automatic. The cyclic rate would be really high, it's super lightweight, and it'd be very difficult to control. Something like this would make more sense for that particular application. But when we're talking about semi-automatics and self-defense firearms, this makes far more sense. This thing is so tiny that you would actually forget you're carrying it. Even with two magazines that are loaded, two 17-round magazines in it, it's still not that heavy. It's not pulling on my belt like an all-steel 1911 might or something like that. It just feels like it's not substantial at all. Now, we'll go over some of the features of the Flux Raider 365 here in a moment, but I just wanted to drive home the size difference between these two firearms. This is actually really, really tiny and very handy. Let's talk about some of the features of it. First of all, it uses standard P365 magazines. Now, these are Magpul magazines, and they are metal, but it fits a 17-round magazine that flush fits, but SIG also has 25-round magazines that are extended. And so you can use all the different P365 magazines in it as long as they're 17 rounds, because that's how long the grip is. Now, up front, we have that extra magazine holder, which also is a nice place to rest your hand so you don't get your hand out in front of the muzzle. And we'll talk about that here in a moment. Now, we'll start off back here with the brace, and you can get this as an SBR or as a braced pistol. Here's the release. And to release it, you just push on it with your index finger, and then you have a spring that's going to shoot it out, and a little bit of bungee cord here that also has some elasticity to it. And that's going to flick it out. Now, you want to make sure, and here's the little release right here by my index finger. I push that up, and then bring it around, and pop it over the lock. And so if you have your wrist up or something like that and you hit it, it can hit your arm, and then you just want to make sure that you lock it into place. The way to avoid that is to just point the muzzle down so that your arm is clear and hit the release, and it'll swing open unobstructed. Now, this is a SIG factory gun, so they're working collaboratively with Flux. Again, these chassis are available by themselves as standalone products that you can then take your existing P365 and drop it in there. All right, so moving forward, the magazine release has been changed considerably. So now it's a push forward, you push it that way, design that will release the magazine in the pistol grip. There's another release right here, and that will release the forward magazine. So you hit it with your thumb and that drops it out. But there's one extra feature, which is also on the P365, I'm sorry, the P320 version. If you push this button all the way in, it'll drop the front and rear magazines at the same time. So why is that important? Well, if you're going to switch magazines, when you hit this button, you're going to grab this magazine, hit the button, the one in the rear is going to fall out, and it's going to make it really easy to put the other magazine in. So that's the thinking there. It's actually really ingenious. I like that design quite a bit. Now, moving forward, this one has a manual safety on it. I don't care for those because I don't use them on guns like this. And so I'll forget if it gets knocked on. I'm not rehearsed in sweeping that off every time I go to shoulder it. So if you have a manual safety, train with it. Make sure that you practice every single time, if this is your carry gun, to disengage that safety, because if you don't, Murphy's Law dictates that when you get into a life or death situation, you'll forget to disable that safety. And then you have just standard controls. This is your slide, stop, slide release. And this is your takedown lever. You will notice that there are no ambi controls. So over here, we don't have any mag releases or anything like that that are on the side. We do have the safety, which is ambi, but that's the extent of it. And if you don't have a safety, there's literally nothing over here then. But the magazine release, if you use this front one, is ambi because you can hit it from either side. So it's again, well thought out. Now, this one has the SIG Romeo enclosed red dot sight on it, which fits perfectly on here. I'm a big advocate of enclosed red dot sights on handguns. It even makes more sense with this. Coming forward, this is just a standard slide, but the barrel has changed. And when we take this hood off, you're going to see what has changed. Underneath here, we do have a 1913 rail system. So you can put a light out here, but you want to make sure you check different lights to make sure it's going to fit. Not every light's going to work with this. And I haven't done an extensive test to figure out what lights work and what don't with this particular chassis system. Now, the gun functions just like normal, so it's going to lock open the last shot fired, but you can see there's quite a bit more barrel here. There's barrel that's going all the way out to the end. And again, this is all done in an effort, as you can see the muzzle right there past the little shroud, all in an effort to keep you from getting your hand in front of the gun. So if this hood wasn't here, and we'll show you when we disassemble it, if this hood weren't here and the muzzle ended right here where the slide does, as normally would, you're really dangerously close to having your thumb in a spot it shouldn't be. So that's why they've done this. Now, when we get into disassembly, there's something I would change here in a future version of this gun. But other than that, the stippling and everything on this just feels really, really good. And the nice thing is it's small enough and light enough that I can still shoot it like a handgun. And then if I want to go braced, I can do that as well. So that's pretty nice. Now, you'll notice this little hump back here. Our best guess is that this is a visual cue to tell you where your face is, because this thing is so tiny that it'd be easy for me to get my face up here and get slide whacked when I'm firing it. So I want to make sure that my face stays behind that hump. And that way I know that I'm not going to get whacked in the face when the gun cycles. And then you have your iron sights on there too, which do they co-witness a little bit? Yeah, like just barely co-witness to the red dot sight, but this hood kind of gets in the way, but you could still use them if you needed to in an emergency. So those are the basic features of the handgun. Let's take it apart and see what she looks like on the inside. So I want to point out that this is the lightweight version of the Flux Raider 365, which means the lower is polymer. They also have an aluminum version, so if you want a metallic lower and a little extra weight, that option exists as well. Either way, they probably shoot about the same, although I've never fired the aluminum version. All right, so let's take it apart. First, I'm going to drop the magazine out, lock the slide to the rear, and make sure that the chamber's clear. Now, you will notice that when I'm drawing the slide to the rear, this little hump that I talked about earlier kind of gets in the way, so you want to make sure you clear that, or just pull the slide to the rear like this with the palm of your hand, and then push up on your slide stop. Or extend the stocker brace. Now, you can also drop out this front magazine, but this cannot feed the weapon. But maybe just to play it safe, you should drop them both out. But there's nothing in the chamber. So I'm going to go ahead and let that slide go home. And now we can take it apart. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do, I'm going to go ahead and extend the brace. This is the one thing I would change. There's 2 screws holding this hood in place. I would like to see a little QD lever or some way, toolless way, to get this hood off so I don't have to carry a wrench. But there's 2 little screws in here to hold the hood in place. So you're going to take these off first so you can get the slide and barrel off. And then this just slides out the front, and you can see where it screws in. And now you can see that really cool barrel. So you don't even really need the hood on there because your thumb is safe, but it looks a little goofy. But if you don't want to have to use tools to get it apart, you can always run it this way. But now you can see if the barrel were flush, the danger it presents, right? So that's why they've done that. Now I can lock the slide to the rear. I'm just going to use my palm as I suggested, rotate the disassembly lever down, and just ride the slide off the chassis. So there's just a standard P365 trigger in there that, again, you could pull out of an existing gun and drop into the chassis system. On this side, it is a captive recoil spring and guide rod. Pull it out, and then the barrel, push it forward, and then lift up and draw it out to the rear. And that's it. That's all there is to the disassembly. So you guys can probably tell I like the P365 Flux Raider. So if I was going to change a couple of things about it, there are some things I would change. First of all, that barrel hood. I would come up with a toolless way to get that hood off so field stripping doesn't require tools. The other thing I would do is probably cut out a little bit right here under this arm where my trigger finger is, because when I go to put my trigger finger in, I get a very high grip, and if I push up on that, which is what happened when I was outside shooting earlier, it will pop open without hitting the release. Because basically how this is locking is it rides over this little detent, and if you push up on it, you can get around that lock. You don't have to push this way. So I would change those two things. And maybe in a future generation, you could do it. It'd be easy to upgrade this arm, or you could do it yourself. Take a Dremel and take a little material out there, and then you wouldn't have to worry about that as much. But other than that, I really like this system. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think this is a cool trend. We see other companies doing this. And keep in mind, the chassis handgun thing is nothing new. It predates even Flux, but they were bigger and more cumbersome. And Flux really kind of made them smaller and a little bit more practical, especially with the P365 version. And I've been following their P320 versions since their very first release, which I posted on social media. And the guys at Flux, like, oh my gosh, because I have the original holster and everything, like, oh my gosh, that's like one of the early Gen 1 chassis systems. So that's how long I've been following this design. So yes, I am a fan of it. Now I know there's a lot of people on there that poo-poo these ideas, but I don't understand what exactly it is that they're offended by with this particular setup. If it's not for you, cool. But I wouldn't rip on these too much, because I do think that they're going to be a little bit more popular going forward. I wouldn't be surprised if some police departments start adopting these. The U.S. military is already playing with chassis systems like this for the M17, M18. So I do think it is a good idea, and I do think it's going to stick around for quite some time. And I do also look forward to additional handguns being supported by not just Flux, but other companies that are making chassis systems. Do you guys have a chassis system? What do you think of it? Comment down below. We all oftentimes read those comments, and you guys give us ideas for future videos by the comments that you make. So again, please do comment down below. If you'd like to support us here at the Military Arms Channel, the best way to do that is to become part of our Patreon family. There's a link in the video description below. Right here underneath the video player you're watching right now, you got a subscribe button. You can mash that button, support us right here on YouTube in the age of demonetization. I want to thank you guys for 18 years of support. Please swing by, check out Copper Custom, and we'll talk to you guys soon.